Hello, let's talk about the tone function. Now, the key thing about the tone function is you set the frequency of the sound, so the pitch, how high or low it is. Now, frequency is measured in hertz or cycles per second. So, yeah, hertz or cycles per second. So, how often it's turning on and turning off every second. So this command would have it turn on and off 440 times every second. This differentiates it a lot from pulse width modulation. So PWM, like anytime you analog write using the pulse width modulation, it varies how wide the pulse is, how long it's on for. They always have the same frequency. It varies a bit depending on the pin, but most pins have a frequency of about 500 cycles per second. So this, if you analog write 50 to some pin, it'll still be turning on and off 500 times a second, but it'll just be on for a lot less time than it would if you did analog write 200. Still turning on and off about 500 times a second, but in this case, it's on for a greater percentage of the time. It's got a bigger duty cycle. Tone is similar, but it's always a 50% duty cycle. It's always on for half the time, but you change the frequency. It's not always 500 hertz or so. It's 440 in this case, 880 in this case, and it's got quite the range. It can go as low as 31 or so, and it can go higher than human hearing. So generally, you set the frequency of the voltage going to a certain pin, and then that pin gets connected to either a speaker or a piezo buzzer, and then it can play that tone, hence the name. Now, one thing to note, let's do this. There are two different ways you can use tone. So you can use tone where you give it a pin that you want to play the tone on, and you give it a frequency. And that'll just have it keep playing forever until you either use tone on the same pin to change the frequency, or you use something called no tone. No tone stops a tone in progress. Or you can use the tone command, give it a pin frequency and duration in milliseconds. So then you can say how long you want it on for, and you don't have to turn it off with no tone when you're done. But yeah, it goes pin, frequency, and duration. So let's see a quick example. We check her out here. This is how it's used in the light theremin code. You've got a line that says tone. So play a tone on pin 8, play it at a specific pitch, and do it for 20 milliseconds. And then you're constantly playing different tones. And that's the extent of the use of tone in the light theremin project. So relatively easy to use. Hopefully you kind of understand it now. Pin, frequency, and duration. Thanks for watching.